Obviously, the past 2 years at Wisconsin have been dismal. What classifies as a good year for Mike Hastings in his first year as the Badgers head coach? Well, I'm going to be very interested to hear in the end what Mike Hastings feels is success for him. This is a guy who has not had a losing season as a head coach ever. I mean, it's crazy to think that, but you look at 20 plus years of coaching and never a losing season. So I'm guessing for Mike Hastings, it can't be a losing season. But I think if you're a Wisconsin Badgers fan, you want more than that. So what is a successful season for the Wisconsin Badgers this year? I think the very first thing is that it is reestablished as a destination for top tier talent. I don't think that reputation ever went away, but I do think that it was getting harder for them to secure the elite players in recruiting. That isn't going to be as big of a problem, I don't think, under Mike Hastings. And I think part of it is because even though he's coming from Minnesota State, where they recruited a different kind of athlete to play for Minnesota State, they typically would go older players. And I think you're going to see a hybrid now that he's at Wisconsin, because you can't go all in one way or all in the other way. And especially not when you're at Wisconsin, when you can attract elite level players. I think his track record of development is probably one of the biggest selling points here. And also the track record of winning. I think that really speaks to the team. It's going to speak to players. If they want to compete for national championships, if they want to compete at the highest level, they can do it with Mike Hastings. This is a guy that has experience as a head coach for many years. He's done it at the collegiate level, and he's done it with fewer resources than he's going to have at Wisconsin, which creates an interesting challenge. I also think that they made some significant additions through the transfer portal, through guys that he already knew, bringing in players from his team. Bringing players from his team. Especially like a guy like Christian Fitzgerald and others. That is going to make them instantly better. Those guys aren't going to have a lot of learning curve with Mike Hastings. I think bringing more out of Charlie Stramel. His freshman season was, by his own standards, I think disappointing in terms of his ability to produce and everything else that he was able to impact the game. I think a guy like Mike Hastings is going to get all of the best parts of Charlie Stramel's game out of him again. It's continuing to bring along this freshman class and to make these guys these 2 to 3 to 4 year players that are going to be foundational pieces for this program going forward. So this is a building year, but I still think it's a year where they can be competitive. Can they win the Big Ten? I don't necessarily think so, but I do think it's wide open this year. I mean, I think Minnesota has had some significant losses. Michigan suffered some significant losses to their team. Michigan State is a team on the rise. Ohio State is going to be, they lost some of their most critical players from last year's team. So there are a number of things that are going to change. So I do think that Wisconsin has the ability to compete right away. But I think being in the top half of the Big Ten is both realistic and maybe should happen. I think the coaching change should help. It's going to probably be reliant on goaltending. But I do think that the Wisconsin Badgers are poised for a much better season this year, and they're going to be on a different path. I think that, with all the enthusiasm that came in when Tony Granato started, and I think you also have to appreciate the grace with which he has handled this situation. He clearly loves the University of Wisconsin, and I'm sure it hurts a lot to not be involved anymore. But he's provided, support and kind words, and for Hastings, for the players that are there, he wants to see them succeed. But I think that over these last couple of years, you started to lose what is the vision of the program, what is the direction of the program. Mike Hastings is going to reestablish that direction, I think, in year one, and that's going to be what ultimately defines success. Did they get themselves on that path going forward? So, great question. Hard to, and probably a too long answer, but I am absolutely excited to see what happens at Wisconsin this year. And by the way, Big Ten, could you get a schedule out yet? We'd love to see one. We have not seen a conference schedule yet. It's August 23rd as I record this. So let's chop chop.